So, this isn't about fashion or trends. This is about personal style. And personal style has a lot to do with how we feel about ourselves and how we see ourselves and how we express what's going on inside. So, it's really about how that informs who we are, how that expresses who we are from the inside out, but also from the outside in. So let's talk about it. So, one thing that I would say is that for me, my personal style and the evolution of my personal style helped me learn a lot about myself, which is interesting, right? Because we're just talking about clothes. I'm looking at my sad little plant, y'all. I can't keep a plant alive. I might have to get me a faux plant. But anyway, because I can see it. Um, for me, my sense of personal style started maybe late for many, many reasons, but it was still a reflection of what I was thinking and feeling about my body and about myself. And confidence and self assuredness and feeling comfortable in our own skin can come from what we put out on the outside and how we show up. As much as we want to say that it may not, it really does. When you put on something that feels like you, there's something that ignites in you. But how do you get to that point where you know this feels like you and you're not performing for a trend or following a trend or trying to fit into another mold that doesn't feel like you versus, nah, this really feels like me. So, in this conversation, I invite you to think about your personal style, to think about whether or not it's a reflection of who you are, whether it ignites a sense of self assuredness and confidence in you. I just did a video on how I was walking around in Panama and just feeling really confident and started to reflect on where that was coming from. And personal style was one of those things. So, this is giving some more context to that. So, growing up, just to give you some story time. Growing up, I I grew up Muslim girl. Modesty was paramount in terms of how I dressed, in terms of how I covered my body. And for many, many years, I equated modesty with just baggy, big, covering, no shape, nothing. And so I didn't necessarily feel like I was cute in my clothes, but I would pick out things I liked, but maybe it was big and it was baggy and it wasn't necessarily flattering. And I just went that way for a while because I thought that's what modesty looked like. And I went through a season in college where definitely felt like it was ugly duckling syndrome for me or ugly duckling season. Not because I didn't think I was beautiful, like, my face and all of that. Not because I didn't think that I had a personality that I was bringing, into the world, but because I didn't feel comfortable in my clothes. In high school, I wore a uniform. And so when you wear a uniform, you don't have a lot of practice in figuring out what feels good on your body and what you like on your body, and still what I felt comfortable in as somebody who was putting modesty as a priority at the forefront. And it was in college that I was trying to figure this out. And college just was a sucky place to figure it out sometimes because I felt a little alienated. I didn't feel cute like my friends who were wearing like their shorts and their tank tops and their like Beyonce's Freakum dress had come out and people were wearing theirs when we went out. And I was like, oh, I'm wearing this long denim skirt and this boxy button down. And I'm like, am I somebody's chaperone? Like it was confronting in a way. And because I already felt a certain level of discomfort in my body that the clothes were hiding, I had developed early. Like it just exacerbated that, how I was showing up and what I was wearing. But I did experiment in college. I did work on eventually finding clothes that fit and still felt comfortable for me. Finding the balance of, okay, if I wear something that's a little more slimming on the bottom, I can wear something that's a little bit more flowy on the top. And I started to just play with what felt good to me and what I liked in style. Sometimes I was preppy. I'd wear a blazer with jeans and maybe a t-shirt or a turtleneck underneath. And this went on for a while, even into my 20s and figuring that out. And I think at a point in my 20s, I was like, oh, this is cute. And I started to do things a little bit more blousy and a little bit more like the skinny jean era came out. And how can I capitalize on that and feel cute? Which is like I was wearing super baggy jeans before that. And so that was a shift for me. And I was realizing at that point, right? Because this isn't just about the clothes, is what the clothes are saying about how you feel about yourself. And at that point, I was like, I can wear something fitted in my body and still feel comfortable. I can find balance and harmony that makes me feel good in my body, makes me feel good when I'm stepping out, makes me feel like I'm put together. And that had me walk a little bit differently and feel a little bit more confident. And then in my 20s, when I started teaching college students, I'm 5'3", and I wanted to assert a certain sense of authority. I had a young looking face. And to be honest, you're in your early 20s teaching a bunch of 18, 19-year-olds, and some of my students were adult students. So I was a lot younger than they were. Some of them had children. And yeah, so I was wearing like bigger heels, and I was, slimmer silhouettes, and, button down with like cute slacks. And I was feeling the authority of that and what it meant to look the part when you're trying to look a little older. And the truth is, I was insecure about my height, my age, and my youthful looking face when I was going to be in front of the classroom as an authority figure. And so in this season, I'm dressing in a way that I feel good and I feel like an authority figure dresses. So now I'm in my 40s and I'm wearing a Winnie the Pooh t-shirt because I like it and it's comfortable and I enjoy it, and I'm a little whimsical and goofy, and that's what I do. But then you wouldn't catch me in a t-shirt. And if I did wear a t-shirt, I'd wear a blazer on top, on casual Fridays, denim jeans with a t-shirt, that I'm going to wear a blazer because then I'm still looking professional, right? I'm still showing up as an authority. And that made me feel like I was more of an authority figure at that time because I was insecure about that, right? So I had to be honest about where am I on the inside and how am I showing up on the outside, and how does that reflect that? My level of confidence, my level of security, my level of being comfortable in my own skin. How did I identify myself? And identify myself as someone probably who felt too young and a bit of an imposter syndrome. And my clothes were a reflection of how can I look the opposite of that, even though I feel that way inside. And then I fast forward, meeting my husband around that, that time, early 20s again, into my 20s, and even into my 30s, I probably was doing things that were a little bit more trendy, but I wasn't a brand girl. And so I wasn't like buying, I bought things that I felt looked good on me and felt good to me. And I kept formulas that I felt looked good on my body. Like the peplum trend, I was like, it didn't look good on me. I thought it would. It didn't. I never got a peplum shirt. You know what I mean? And I stayed with this idea of how I show up, still insecure about the baby face and being young, because now I'm moving into working for myself and I want people to take me seriously. So I carried a lot of that same stuff with me. And then pivotal moment for me was having my son. So not too long ago, my son is almost 4, and my personal style really started to shift. I did a video on this channel where I talked about the moment that I stopped wearing my husband's clothes after postpartum with my son, and what that did for me to get clothes in the size that I was then, okay, that fit me and that weren't sweatpants or leggings or drawstring, which I was wearing and I was comfortable in. And yet I wanted a shift and I didn't want to wear his clothes anymore. And I wanted something that fit me and it didn't make me feel like crap. There's a lot going on in postpartum. And that trip to the thrift store, because I love thrifting, and finding clothes that fit me. And I looked in the mirror, I'm like, okay, I felt good. It wasn't necessarily me developing personal style yet, but I was buying clothes that fit me that I can go out in and feel like I'm not just throwing on sweatpants or leggings and my husband's t-shirt. That was a pivotal moment for me. And it was the catalyst for me starting to feel comfortable in my skin again, because I felt very uncomfortable postpartum with my son. And like I said, I did a video on this and I'll link it in the description below or at the end of this video. I know sometimes I say that and I totally forget to do that. Y'all, I'm trying to remember this time, okay? I'm gonna put it in the description. But that time, the insecurity was at an all-time high. And getting the clothes helped me feel better, but it was more a jumping off point to me working on what was going on within me and accepting where I was, even as I was moving where I was going when it came to my health and it came to my size and it came to how I felt and my energy level. And I gave myself grace and I gave myself time because I just grew and birthed a whole 9-pound human at home. Okay. And it took me longer to recover from that physically, even than it did with my daughter. And what happened in the first year and a half or so was that I started to evaluate my closet and I started to look at what I had that was no longer serving me, no longer fitting me, no longer my style, even if it looked good on me. Did it work for my lifestyle? I was out here schlepping now 2 kids. Was it comfortable for me? Did it make me feel like myself? Was it aligned with where I was in that season? And see, I'm going inside and I'm asking myself these questions, but I want to reflect that on the outside. That's the expression. Because what's on the outside is going to reflect a lot of things, even the things that we don't necessarily want to admit or see about ourselves in that moment. The insecurities that I felt in the past was reflected in how I was showing up, physically in my dress and in my personal style at the time. And I'm in a season where I feel so aligned and do not give a peep what anybody feels about what it is that I'm putting on, whether it's age appropriate for me because I'm wearing these t-shirts, whether I wear too many t-shirts, whether my pants are too wide leg. I love me a wide leg pant, right? And so I cleaned out my closet of things that didn't serve me anymore in those categories. Didn't fit, didn't, wasn't no longer my style, didn't work for my lifestyle. And I started to curate pieces that felt like me, that were fun, that were comfortable, that were flowy, that made me feel good in my own skin and reflected where I was. And where I was at that point when I started to shift was I want to wear what I want to wear. And I want what I wear to be a reflection of where I am. And I want to step out and feel really good about it and not question anything because this feels aligned with me, which was a reflection of I am in a space where I feel good about where I am. It doesn't mean that I'm not in areas where I need to improve. I can always do more, be more active, eat more healthily, just work on me. I'm always becoming. I'm always a work in progress. There's always room for improvement. And right now, in the last few years and right now, my personal style is a reflection of exactly who I am in this season and where I am, acknowledging that. And I'm in a place where I feel way less of the insecurities that weighed on me or anchored me in the past. And that's a beautiful thing. That has been incredibly eye opening. And it has allowed for me to identify where I am in my life, what season, and honor that, not just in what I do, but also how I show up and how I look. And somebody will be like, it doesn't matter. I think personal style matters because of that. Not trends, not fashion, not labels, not high fashion. And I'm not knocking you if that's your thing. I'm just saying when it comes to personal style, that's what matters. And your personal style may include trends, it may include labels, but if it's true to you and it's aligned with who you are and you feel good in your skin and inwardly you're finding a way to reflect that outwardly, And it's allowing you, if you let it, to be aware of where you are in this season, because we are where we're supposed to be as we're growing. That is pretty freaking cool. And that's what I thought about where I was. And so I like how I flow right now. I like the tones and the comfortability and the creativity that I get to have, sometimes. And that's the part that I'm actually, ooh, y'all. For those of you who've been following me a while, you know that I am in a space and in a journey of seeing where my creativity lands now, right? And I'm creative in many aspects, but as someone who used to be a spoken word, who performing artist, singer, traveled, competed, all of that in my lifetime, I am kind of looking and open to searching and seeking, and then open to what comes to me around what this season of creativity looks like for me now in my life in my 40s. And what is interesting, and I'm just realizing this in real time, is that even in my wardrobe, I love it. It's me. It's stripped down. It's simple. It's comfortable. It's, a little funky, a little avant-garde sometimes, a little whimsical in terms of just maybe like playful. I don't instead of whimsical, I would say I'm more playful at times. I still haven't hit my stride with creativity in terms of how I'm putting pieces together and thinking outside the box and looking at that. I haven't hit that. And I haven't hit that in my life. I haven't leaned into what my creative outlets are, what I feel called to in this season in my life. And I see that reflected in my wardrobe and how I put pieces together. Because I basically have a capsule wardrobe, very simple, but I wear some of the same things with some of the same things. I mix and match a few things, but it's like I want to put something unexpected together and be surprised. You know what I mean? And that's a reflection of where I am in my life right now creatively. Look at that. I'm reaching this conclusion right now with you in real time and making my own point. And hopefully that is the takeaway for you as you look at your personal style and you look in your closet and you like, what can I purge? Not because it doesn't fit necessarily. Definitely purge that if it doesn't fit. Not because, you know, but because it doesn't mesh with you anymore. Because even if it looks good on you, it's not something that you're really going to wear because it's been in your closet for 5 years and you haven't touched it. You're not excited about it. It doesn't feel like something you want to pick up because it feels like home and it feels good on your skin and you feel good in it. Yeah, that's my invitation, inviting you to do that as well. It's interesting how we showing up in our personal style can reflect who we are and where we are in this season. So I do trust that as I start to really lean into and discover what my creative outlets are in this season, that my personal style is going to shift again to reflect that, to be continued, to be seen. Thank you so much for hanging out with me a little bit today, for watching, for having this conversation. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please. And thank you. Share it in the group chat. Share it in the group chat where y'all talking about barrel pants and trends and, just fun things and have a conversation about that. And if you have something that resonated with you, please let me know in the comments so that we can chat. For those of you who enjoy conversations about how we can have deeper and more feel-good relationships with self and our partners, and also insights on transition and pivoting in life and change and challenge, because my family and I are in a big transition now as we have moved abroad 3 months ago. We've been here about 3 months and what that is bringing up. And I share insights and reflections on that as well. If that's your vibe, please subscribe and continue to go on this journey with me in real time. I am out here doing 100 days of daily posting on YouTube. I think today might be day 60. So I'm keeping this train going and I hope you hop on the train with me. Thank you again so much for watching. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time and I'm going to see you tomorrow.